For nearly 3 decades, some elderly residents of Johannesburg have been waiting for their homes they were promised by government. Many are now marching for answers, citing corruption, bribery and a lack of political will in the Department of Human Settlements. The UDM has demanded immediate accountability and action to resolve this long-standing housing crisis. Well, to discuss this further, we're joined in studio by Yongama Zigebe, UDM councillor in Johannesburg. Yongama, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us. Just walk us through the crisis that it is, because that's how you've described this crisis. It impacts the elderly who've been waiting, some as long as 30 years. And obviously, we've just had a conversation around the Usindiso building disaster of some time ago. And even those individuals are still homeless.
I think the crisis stems from 1996, when the Housing Act was enacted into law, which was for RDP, which is a Reconstruction and Development Program. That particular piece of legislation was to assist or, to make sure that the imbalances of the past are being, sorted out, because our people have been lacking land. Many of whom in the city of Johannesburg are living in informal settlements. Right now, Alexandra is packed, Soweto is packed, and they're having shacks all over the place, and there's no dignified accommodation or housing for our people. But now it has escalated to a point whereby, the elderly, I understand that there's Umamum Kize, who's a veteran, who fought for Banjo education and in 1976. There's also Umama Usinosha, who is also an elderly and disabled, around 69 years of age, who have been neglected for almost 3 decades. That's how bigger the crisis is. But it's not only just Johannesburg that is having this crisis. Also, Ekurhuleni has the same crisis. In Cape Town, we have seen that there's quite a number of informal settlements which have not yet been built, and people in those areas have even given up on government in getting their homes. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Just here in Soweto, my chairperson, she registered or applied for a house in 1998. She hasn't gotten it today, and she's given up on that particular.
So what is the throughput of housing in Johannesburg? I mean, how many new houses are being built or available? What is government actually doing?
Government is currently building houses, but the issue with building of houses, you'd see that in Alexandra there are places whereby houses have been built, RDP houses, and they are very glaring because they are brown. So when you drive by, these are RDP houses. But the issue is that you'd find that people who have applied for houses are not getting those particular houses. It's either there's a jumping on the queue, having to give houses to people who've just applied in 2000, or there's corruption that needs bribery and everything. In most of the houses whereby Dudula has taken some actions, to evict people in houses who do not even apply. They are not even on the list of housing, and they are not even South African nationals. And that is a crisis on itself, because now people are starting to take the law into their own hands in order for this thing to be able to be sorted. But then also that particular exercise does not give to the rightful owners of that particular house. It's amongst themselves as a group of people to say, okay, fine, we've chucked out a foreign national into this house, therefore my friend get in or my comrade get in. So that's the issue. It's the corruption, the maladministration around it, the bribery itself. Those allegations are not just allegations. Some of us, we grew up in these informal settlements. We've heard our parents talking about it, that they want 3,000 in order for us to be able to have a house. So those are issues that are currently doing. So what we need from government, they need to investigate that. In fact, it's not that these allegations are just springing up in 2005. They've been there in 2010 when the Alexandra housing crisis was there, and people went on the streets, crying foul around this issue. And we had said at the time, there is officials within government who are not held accountable because they want these bribes. We want that. We also want that the officials within government, not just politicians this time around, we need some lifestyle audits to the officials who are currently working in government.
Is there evidence to these allegations of bribery? And if so, where is the evidence and what is being done with it?
The thing is with this type of bribery is like it happens to people and they talk about it, but there's no paper trail that's in there. But we've got people on the ground who are witnesses to saying that I've applied for my house in 1996, I haven't got it. But when you go to the housing department or human settlement department, they would say that your house has been allocated. The question, it has been allocated to who? That means that particular person has paid in order to get into that, but nothing has been done. Hence, the elderly went to Pretoria during the week to say that we have been telling you that these people are wanting 3,000 and whatnot forth. And our houses are there. It's not that there are no houses. Their houses are there. They are on the list, but they've been allocated to wrong people because those people have done one or two things. It comes back and says that whoever got into the house got into the wrong way, and that is an illegal way whereby money exchanged hands.
So what should be done immediately to address this crisis?
I think what should be done is an immediate audit, and that has been done, and a multi-pronged approach into it. Like departments, like for instance, Department of Home Affairs needs to come in. Where are these elderlies? Are they eligible people who are elderly? In the case of the elderly people, the Department of Social Development, because it deals with the, I know for a fact that where they've appropriated houses for the elderly and the disabled, they've got a list of those people and they know where to find them, and they know who's supposed to get into the list of 1996, 98 and going forward. So that multi-pronged approach is needed so that we are able to have this a quick audit and then find these elderly people and appropriate their houses in a right manner so that you do not have a question whereby elderly people are still sleeping and staying in informal settlements or in the back rooms. So that's the immediate thing that we want. Over and above that, an investigation into these allegations that have been popping up for years. And also what I've just talked about when it comes to lifestyle audits of officials and politicians within the housing sector.
And the reaction from the Department of Human Settlements?
It has been mum. Since, remember that there was a letter that was written by the elders before they took action, which gave them 40 days, and that 40 days lapsed. And they went, now they had to get up and go to Pretoria and have that protest because there was no a response from their side. And that's a problem with government officials and our government in particular, is that we wait for crisis for crisis to expand in such a way that there will be bloodshed. The moment somebody's blood has watered our grounds, that's when we are going to act. That means we are reactionary instead of being proactive. So that's the issue. And what we have done just after issuing that statement, we had said that we'd written to the minister herself, saying that we need, these are the demands that we have and we want it as soon as possible. And we're glad that the general is back from India now, to saying that over and above your discussions in the cabinet, this is an urgent discussion that needs to be heard, so that the president and all other ministers, are abreast on this matter.
Yongama Zigebe, UDM councillor in Johannesburg, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Okay, and that conversation on housing in Johannesburg, where some elderly Johannesburg residents have been waiting for housing from as far back as 1996.